We now have a new favorite, obviously, to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. That would be Jackson Dart at plus 125. If Emeka Egbuka is truly hurt, and we'll see what he exactly is, Tyler Warren's just chopped liver. We're not doing this, huh? We're just not going to give him the market. They're not going to give him the respect he deserves, give him what he's done with the Indianapolis Colts.
This is Pod to the Futures with Mitch Moss and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, folks, welcome in. It is another edition of Pod to the Futures. Jonathan Von Tobel, Mitch Moss with you here. I don't know, like the fifth episode in, and I'm totally fired up and happy and not irritated in any way, shape, or form. Mitch Moss, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Other than what happened on Sunday, week 6 of the National Football League, I felt violated that day with some of our futures that we have.
Yeah.
But you just have to get back beyond that stuff, and you can't let it rot your brain for too long.
I mean, you can hold on to it. You can hold grudges, and you can absolutely let it fester in your mindset for a very long time.
That feels like a healthy way to live your life.
It's what I do. And then you shove down all the other things that you feel at some point. All right, so let's talk about, we've tended to kind of gravitate a little bit more toward the focus on the NFL, and rightfully so. It's a very popular sport. There's a lot of future angles here, and it's hard not to open again with the weekend that was, considering some of the impactful news and performances. And it's hard not to start where we started last week. Baker Mayfield again has another dominant performance, and he finds himself now fully in the conversation for most valuable player.
And on the pod after week 5, the win against Seattle, up and down the field, tons of points in that game. You were planting your flag for Baker at that time, saying like 11, 12 to 1 was out there. And last week, the quote was, how is he not the favorite? And now we get one more game banked, right? A nice win against San Francisco. He's down even more receivers now, JVT. The fabulous Emeka Egbuka goes down to the hammy in the second quarter. He is throwing to like his 6th wide receiver on the team and making things work. And that run on 3rd and 14 was something that we could look back on and say that was his MVP moment that people, mainstream media will get into. And I will ask the same question after the Bills looked like trash last night. How is Baker Mayfield not like almost odds on today? How is he not the favorite? He's behind Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
3-3 look like poop in a couple of their games this year, and Mayfield is clearly like carrying this team on his shoulders. And Josh Allen and the Bills have many problems right now. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, I think, so I do get it to the sense of it's probably a liability thing, I would assume. Like we talked about some, if you ask the odds makers, how would you truly set this if you're talking about, no liability, not stacking this up, just what do you think the true odds are, a very popular term in sports betting. You'd probably get a much shorter shot for Baker Mayfield even than he is now in that range that you're talking about after Monday night. So I would assume that you just don't want to float both Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes out to like 4 or 5 to 1. Because you're just going to be inundated with money on the off chance that they both do win another MVP. That's probably why you're at where you're at from an MVP odds standpoint.
Yeah. So you can look at it multiple ways. That definitely is one of them. And it's a long season. Look at how many injuries we've already had this season to big name players. Also, like if the season ended today at the third way mark, he'd be unanimous to win the award.
Yes.
He would have
I don't think there's a question. Yeah.
And I think voters who would pass on him and give it to like a Mahomes type, they'd get absolutely ridiculed and barbecued by the media. Rightfully so. They should.
Yep. I think if we're being honest, the order, if we're talking about true order of highest probability to win MVP, is right now Baker Mayfield and then Patrick Mahomes, and then you can get to some of these other guys. I know that a name that you have mentioned a couple of times that I think is worth reiterating is Drake May. For the New England Patriots. I was going to say the North Carolina Tar Heels. I don't know why that came into my brain. I just stopped that.
They can use him.
They could. But Drake May has statistically been one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, has his signature win on a Sunday night primetime spot against the Buffalo Bills. If you look at everything that you've asked of May, that is something where, in terms of a long shot, that's a guy that you're looking at to potentially be in the contention for the award. But I still think he's clearly like third-ish, fourth behind, the 3-4 names that we've mentioned at this point.
Yes. But as of right now, the recording here on Tuesday after week 6, you can still find him as high as 18 to 1.
Yeah.
And I'll point out a couple of things here, right? So when you want to look at just overall numbers, he is 5th behind Mayfield, Darnold, Prescott, and Stafford in passing yards. When it comes to yards per attempt, he is 4th overall. He's got 10 touchdowns, 2 INTs. Quarterback ranking, he's 4th overall. And when you look at the schedule, and down the, like, who's got the easiest path? The Patriots have, I think, by far and away the easiest schedule remaining in the league. Let me point this out. They still have the Jets twice. Drake May gets the Titans. The Browns, good defense, obviously. The Dolphins defense, the Ravens, and the Bengals among the teams that he still has to play this year.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so there's a path here for Drake May to, at the end of the season, with 2/3 of it to go yet, his numbers are going to look phenomenal. And I don't know, do they win their division? Maybe.
I was going to say. I mean, I think that's kind of what you're looking at. I think there's, we're talking about awards, and I think you can tie this into it as well, which is just like there are some, I think, futures angles that you take from some of these results from the weekend too. And when you look at New England, I mean, that's one of them as well. I mean, the Patriots in this division where it's funny. So in the summer, before everything was set, before we got win totals and everything, Patriots were a team that I had circled. I'm like, I'm in. Like, I think I'm going to be in on this team. Like, they have every single piece. I was assuming, though, that the win total was going to be like 6.5, 7.5. Like, we were going to get some longer shots on it. And obviously the market was way ahead and was on it. This team should only have one loss to its name. That Steelers loss, again, is going to haunt them if they don't achieve something by a game or two at the end of the year, because those 5 turnovers, 4 fumbles lost against the Steelers were mind-boggling in a game that they completely outperformed them. But to your point about how vulnerable Buffalo looks and still sitting at a minus 210 to win the AFC East when you're looking at the Patriots at plus 160 with the schedule that they have in front of them, and a win over Buffalo at that, I mean, I don't think that's the craziest thing in the world to look at them as a division winner and looking at some of those exactas like New England, Buffalo 1-2, because I feel pretty safe in saying that's going to be your 1-2. It's just whether or not, what order they're going to finish.
Yeah, no doubt at this point. And again, now that we have another sample size here or data point with the Bills, if their defense doesn't get fixed, right, and if those guys are going to be, like Milano's going to be injured, like on again, off again. Is he going to play? We don't know. When he
always
misses
is.
games, right? He always is. And when he doesn't play, like he means almost everything to that defense, right? I had the Bills circled, and I was saying this on Follow the Money throughout the year leading into the season. I want to lay a game and a half, 2.5, 3.5 games because of their schedule. How often do you get a first place finishing team that was on the door of going to the Super Bowl last year with a top 5 easiest schedule in the league? It's because of their schedule that was so weak. And, Allen's off the MVP year. I thought they were just going to come in and they got to as high as minus 2,000, by the way, to win this thing 2 weeks ago when they were 4-0, and how things have changed. And it looks like they're going to be in a dogfight now, and I think the bye is coming probably at the right time for them.
Before we move off of, because since we're on this angle and we're talking a little bit about Patrick Mahomes, I added the Chiefs to win the division at plus 150. What do you think?
I don't hate it whatsoever. The AFC is absolutely laughable and disgusting. And now that's basically the bottom feeders. And on Sunday night, when they really look good against Detroit, and I get it with the Lions' injuries, but the Chiefs' defense is, they're going to be solid with Spagnuolo the entire year. They're going to get Rashee Rice back finally now. When Xavier Worthy is healthy, like that offense was really humming on Sunday night. Mm-hmm. And a guy who I like and I bet on in that game, Tyquan Thornton, to go over 19.5 receiving yards, was playing in the game and didn't have a single target, and they still killed Detroit after that first drive. I bet him 9-1 to win the Super Bowl, because now that we're a third of the way in again, and we just talked about Buffalo and their concerns, like who else is good overall in the AFC? And it might be teams in their division. So they're going to have to beat a good Broncos team, or should I say a really good Broncos defense and a super questionable offense and a Bo Nix at quarterback who I can't trust as far as I can throw him. And I want to tell you that I bet on Herbert during the Brazil game to win the MVP. I love the dude, but can the Chargers really sustain a level of play where they're going to push the Chiefs out of that division and in the AFC with how many injuries they've already had? I don't know if they can.
Yeah, the offensive line, obviously, again, against Miami this last weekend, 2 starters out, or 2 more starters out, if you will. Their 2 tackles weren't playing. We'll see what the status of Alt is going to be as we move forward. But that, to me, is part of it. You mentioned it. I mean, I'm sorry. Everybody's mocking, and rightfully so, Aaron Glenn and the Jets and Justin Fields. How in the world on the other side is a team that fancies itself a contender up by only 1 against a team putting forth that dreck on offense? Is beyond me. And we continue to see the inconsistencies with the Broncos on offense. I mean, at this point, it's open. It's wide open for Kansas City to go and steal this division, and then by extension win the AFC. And you mentioned something too. I mean, because looking at the futures overall, you say that there's not really that many good teams in the AFC. How many good teams are there? Period.
Great question.
I'm watching the Packers in a tie with the Cowboys. The Panthers moved up and down the field on the Cowboys over the weekend. Packers couldn't get out of a tie against that team. They also lost to the Browns. Okay, and then they're in a one-score game late with the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Flacco.
Yep.
We watch the Lions, who are putting defensive backs on injured reserve like it's their job almost every single week and losing guys defensively. They have some flaws, I think, on that end. I mean, we can go down the list of each one of these teams. Buffalo, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, Tampa Bay. You look at all these teams. I mean, I think you can go really deep on this list and go, you know what, like Washington, 25-1 to win the Super Bowl. Why wouldn't that team with that offense be able to do it? Because every single one of these teams at the top is flawed.
How about Atlanta?
Right.
And they've had a couple of awesome performances so far, one of which would have been the Monday night win last night against Buffalo. Offense looked great. Their defense, by the way, that performance and the one against Minnesota, no, that was a McCarthy game. But also, I mean, the 30-0 loss at Carolina was probably a fluke. But they are maybe good enough to make a run in the NFC. I want to love the Rams, and I know like their advanced numbers are, I think PFF has them the highest graded team in the entire league, if I'm not mistaken on that. If not, they're right there. But if they didn't get that goal line stand against Baltimore at the end of the first half, right? Questionable play calling. They ran it, twice with Mark Andrews?
Yep.
And they, hello, Derrick Henry. That's maybe the reason why you got him. That's a 10-3 game potentially going to halftime, and they were in a dogfight with a team that just got blasted by Houston's offense. Like, I want to love the Rams. I can't love the Rams. Now, Puka's hurt, which you want to talk about a player who means everything to the offense. That dude was getting, a dozen targets a game. The Niners, great story. Come on, let's be honest. And I saw somebody tweet this out, and I thought they were spot on after the Warner injury. Losing Nick Bosa is like getting your leg chopped off. Losing Fred Warner now is getting your heart ripped out.
Yep.
They're not a player, unfortunately. Just too many injuries again with that team.
I'm with you. I mean, like even Tampa Bay, as we're talking about them, I think the worry too is like, how long can you sustain this? It speaks to Baker Mayfield's MVP candidacy, but you do want, like, you look at Tampa Bay and you think, man, I think this team's kind of living on the edge here. I mean, you're just getting by in these games because there's so many injuries, and at some point, you would think the bottom's going to fall out. Now, football inherently is a small sample size sport, so you could, over the course of 17 games, keep it up, if you will, and win enough to be a top seed and do all these things that Mayfield needs to do in the award and be one of the higher seeded teams in your respective conference. But there's no team that I look at this point through a third of the season and say that is the team that is going to win it all. There's no shot that team's going to lose to X, Y, and Z. Every single one of these teams is flawed. And like you're talking about, which leads me to, Stormy brought this up on Money Moves the other day, and it's one thing that I'm kind of keeping in my back pocket and waiting. If I tell you that, tomorrow, Lamar Jackson's 100% healthy and ready to go, they're 25-1 to win the Super Bowl. Can you get there? Or are the flaws that you've seen with this team defensively too much?
Well, they're going to get guys back on defense, and they did against the Rams a little bit, right? So that side of the ball should, in theory, get better. And Jackson in that offense, I mean, they're going to be, now, can they win their division? It seems a little bit unlikely because they're so far behind it right now. Mm-hmm. Although the numbers tell you that there's still a decent chance of them to do so. Put it this way. I mean, they were my highest power rated team entering the season. I think
mine too.
I was probably, that might have been like a majority thought on the Ravens overall, was that, they're the best team. And if they didn't blow that game against Buffalo, my God, the whole feeling about that team would have even been ramped up a little bit more. So why not? I mean, but it's going to come down to this as well, at that big number. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen still have to beat that dude wearing number 15 for the Chiefs at some point in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But if you have 25-1 in pocket at that point on a team like Baltimore and they make the playoffs, then you can probably get a little cute with it as well.
To the point of the division, they still have 5 of their 6 divisional games left. They've only played 1. That was Cleveland in week 2. So they still have 2 against Pittsburgh. They still have 2 against Cincinnati. They have a road game left against the Cleveland Browns. So all of those things work for them. And the good part about this portion of the schedule for Baltimore, which is why I think this is maybe the time to do it, they go into their bye week this week. Then they come out versus Chicago. Now, the Bears look a little bit more formidable as the weeks go along. So we'll see, because you get them at home, though. Then it's at Miami, at Minnesota, at Cleveland, home versus New York, and home versus Cincinnati before your first game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, December 7th. That is a schedule that, if you are healthy, if Lamar Jackson is there, you could get through that portion of your schedule with maybe a loss, I think, realistically, coming out of a bye.
It's doable, no doubt. In fact, I bet them at a decent number to miss the playoffs after he got hurt. I might have to start looking. Don't have to do it maybe right now because they are on their bye. but maybe I can come back a little bit here and do like a win total over or something like that to maybe try to win both bets.
Yep. All right, before we move on to Offensive Rookie of the Year, because we did obviously have a big injury pop up this last weekend, is there anybody else for MVP that you would consider outside of the names that we've discussed? Anybody further down the board? Are we starting to see the cream rise to the top here?
Yeah, I mean, we can bring up Dak yet again because he drifted out to 50-1, but here's the problem, JBT. They're not going to win enough games.
They just keep losing, yep.
Yeah, he's going to be the Joe Burrow from last year. We can eliminate all skilled players, I would think, right, still, even though there's no quarterback really running away with the award. Yeah, I think we're probably good on the MVP for right now.
Yep, I would tend to agree. All right, so Emeka Egbuka injures his hamstring. He was the odds-on favorite going into last week to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and now he's down to about plus 450 or so to win it. We now have a new favorite, obviously, to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. That would be Jackson Dart at plus 125. Dude, I'm sorry. I will continue to do this. I'll do it every week if I have to. What are we doing? If Emeka Egbuka is truly hurt, and we'll see what he exactly is, Tyler Warren's just chopped liver? Like, we're not doing this, huh? We're just not going to give him the market. We're not going to give him the respect he deserves, give him what he's done with the Indianapolis Colts, no?
Still, you can grab him at plus 750.
Yep.
I mean, how much is Jackson Dart plays in the New York market baked into this number overall?
Oh, sure.
Or is it that he is going to be the quarterback of that team moving forward until he does potentially get hurt? Because if Dable is going to run him out of the blue tent, that tells me that guy has, like, come on, man, use your brain for a second here. But they're going to keep running him a lot. And the way that he puts his... By the way, and Humans had a good point on Monday. Like, we're all assuming that if he keeps running Dart like that, he can get hurt. What about with Scadaboo style?
Right.
He's a bowling ball. And he thinks that he can steamroll over every defender. Like, this is now the NFL, and he's doing it. But at some point, doesn't that catch up with him as well?
I saw, it was a great tweet. It was Cam Scadaboo is going to have the greatest 3-year career we've ever seen.
Yeah.
With the way that he plays, like, constantly putting his body in danger, the physical nature. I mean, I think the reason this player that I'm about to invoke flamed out was for different reasons. But, dude, Peyton Hillis was on the cover of Madden one year.
That's right.
You know? And then all of a sudden we just never saw him again. And I think this might be one of those types of careers you're looking at with the way that he plays with his body. And it's the same thing with Dart. Like you said, I mean, look, Dable, to him, he's like, concussion. I got to save my job, brother. Get back out there.
One play. Get out now.
Yes. He's
right?
fine.
And even the owner of the Giants had to come out and issue a statement after that huge colossal mistake by Dable on national TV. Like, pal, what are you thinking? He lost his mind there, JBT, for a good 5 minutes.
That was bad.
He was having a heart attack with like 70,000 other fans in the stadium. And then, like, you could tell watching the guy, you finally have potentially here your franchise quarterback, and you're going to run design runs with him immediately as soon as I was blown away by that. And nobody's betting him at minus 125 or whatever that number is right now to win the award. If you told me, and we want to try to do like the FOMO bet of the week on this podcast every week, here's the rub. Like, Scadaboo can clearly play in this style. He could leave the game at some point with a shoulder or whatever it might be and miss like a couple of weeks. But if you told me that Scadaboo was going to stay healthy for the rest of the year, and there's a 17-1 out there on him right now, I mean, I already have him multiple times this year, and we've talked about him. But 17-1 on a guy, if he were to stay healthy, of course he could win the award.
Yep. I go back. So I think there's, by the way, for Tyler Warren, we should note there's two things I think we should point out. First off, again, against the Cardinals, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 63 yards and a touchdown. Second consecutive game with a receiving touchdown. He's got 3 touchdowns overall. He had a rushing touchdown 2 or 3 weeks ago against the Rams. He's a big part of the offense. You know, he's less than 200 yards away from going over his season-long receiving yards prop already. His preseason receiving yards prop was 550.5, so he's already on pace to crush that number if you got in on any of those futures.
I happen to get that. The minute that what was
Richardson?
It? There was breaking news. Yeah, when Richardson was ruled out and Danny Dimes was going to be the starting quarterback, I bet him over 550.5.
Dude, even then, some spots only moved to like 625. So like there was still just not belief that he was going to be anything great. Side note, that crazy pregame for Indianapolis. Richardson fractured orbital bone on the band. Charvarius Ward getting taken out by one of the backup tight ends. Absolutely insane. May I submit one name to you for consideration here for Offensive Rookie of the Year, who, by PFF standards, actually has a higher receiving grade than one Emeka Egbuka and is behind him by just under 100 yards. Go ahead.
McMillan?
Ted McMillan for Carolina.
Get him at 10-1 still.
Yep. I think that's if you're kind of looking out and saying, okay, if Egbuka is going to be out for the foreseeable future, or if he's going to have a little bit of an injury that's going to keep him out and possibly knock him down, if you don't want to go the Scattaboo route because you think that like Jackson Dart and he are going to cannibalize each other and you don't want to hit that short price with him, where else would you look? McMillan makes the most sense at this point right now. He's a good big play receiver. Some of the numbers for you, 14.1 yards per reception. If you look at some of the different numbers that you have for him in terms of like average up to target, he's pretty explosive in a downfield target. Receptions, he is tied with Egbuka. He's just behind him in terms of overall yards, 3 fewer touchdowns. But he's got a resume that is very similar to one of Emeka Egbuka, who was just the odds-on favorite to win it.
I might have to add him because I thought I had the market cornered before the Egbuka injury.
Many do.
So I had a huge number. I went a lot of money to him, and I have Dart and I have Scattaboo. So with McMillan now, I'm looking at Carolina's schedule the rest of the way. They have the Buccaneers twice, the Packers, the Bills, the Niners, the Rams, and the Seahawks. They do get the Saints twice, the Jets, and the Falcons.
Yeah.
So he's going to end up. I mean, as long as he stays healthy, you know that he's the number one guy that Young's going to throw to, and I actually thought I know he scored twice. I'm talking about like overall targets and like receptions, yards. I thought he was going to have a bigger day on Sunday, despite having those 2 touchdowns. I thought the numbers were going to be like in that 8 for 90 range. And then you could add the cherry on top of the touchdowns. But he's off to a great start. There's no doubt. I also wonder like how do PFF grades really factor into this? And I'll bring up an example here for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Did you see Bill Barnwell's quarter mark awards that he sent out after week 4?
I think you mentioned it last week. Abdul Carter was not mentioned, right?
Well, he had Upton Stout as number 2 Defensive Rookie of the Year. Cornerback, 49ers. So I looked at the PFF grades on Upton Stout are not great whatsoever. They're like really low. And if you were just to go based on PFF grades, you'd say, well, this guy has no chance. But here you have a national media guy who does a great job covering the NFL, write a long story, and he's telling you this is the reason why Upton Stout is off to a great start this year. And I think the game after that, he had like 8 tackles in that win over the Rams. So, and most books don't even offer him, by the way.
Wow.
So that's where I guess we'd have to do a deep dive on like PFF grades over the years to see if they really factored into people winning these awards.
I can do that next week. I'll have that ready for next week. Just correlate like where they stand in terms of where they grade and award winners and whatnot. I mean, because defensively too, it's very subjective. There's no real
question.
It's with every single one of these awards that we talk about, Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA and the NFL. Usually, and obviously in the NBA, it's way more challenging because there is no splashy interception or sack stat that really gets you to at least attract the eye of a voter. Here, at least, voters really rely on those types of things, which is why a guy like Abdul Carter persistently has been near the top of the odds board, despite the fact that he has not really performed to that level. And a guy like our guy, Carson Schwessinger, he's still racking up tackles left and right. I don't know if he's going to be able to win it, but he plays a ton of snaps. He's getting a ton of tackles. Yeah. And I don't know if he's going to be too attractive to anybody who's voting for it. Can I really quick, before we move on to Defensive Player of the Year, because it was the natural point to jump to, you and I were texting about this. We were talking about Teteroa McMillan. Do we do anything with Rico Dowdle, given these 2 big performances that we've seen from him? 200-plus yards from scrimmage in each of the last 2 games.
Okay, so I actually wanted to look for him immediately on Sunday night. Books usually don't repost until Monday morning just to see if there was a rogue number out there on him to win Offensive Player of the Year. And I know that sounds absolutely bananas, but you never know. I mean, what if they win 9 games, right? And he puts up, all of a sudden, 1,800 yards from scrimmage and scores 15 times. I'm getting completely loony now with some of these numbers. I understand that. But I thought maybe if there's a rogue, and by the way, books posted players all the way down to like 400 to 1. He was unlisted. Then I went back and looked. I think it was on, because I don't remember the timeline of me texting you about him and some of these awards. Now he's been posted finally since Monday morning, and he's between 75 and 100 to 1.
Okay.
Hubbard's going to come back. Yep. They just gave him the extension. I can't get down on 100 to 1 JPT.
No.
I would take, if a number was out there, like if he was listed at 400 to 1, okay, that adds up pretty quickly.
Sure.
But 100 to 1 or 75 to 1 as he's posted now, that's a pass for me.
I was kind of hoping, because you're right, because Hubbard's going to come back, but he's been running so well.
I know.
he's in. Look, that's going to happen after 2 games because the angle that I was going to shoot for, like if you told me Chuba Hubbard was not going to take the job back over, he's only like 130 yards off their league leader for rushing.
Is that what he is?
Yeah. So let me see. So Jonathan Taylor I just had this pulled up. Too many tabs. Jonathan Taylor is at 603. Rico Dowdle is 472. So, like, you could realistically paint like, if he is going to be the guy, he has been so efficient with the way that he's been running. And I will say this because we should point this out. I don't know how you feel about him. Dave Canales is actually a good, like, his running game is good. Yeah. It is a well-schemed rushing attack that has allowed Dowdle to perform very well. If you go back, if anybody's listening or watching this, go back and just watch some highlights from the Cowboys-Panthers game. Look how far back that offensive line is getting pushed. Look where Rico Dowdle first meets contact against some of these Cowboy defenders on some of these runs. It's insane that the first point of contact is like 3 yards downfield. Some of it has to do with scheme and getting that Cowboys defense to move around. But yeah, 603, Jonathan Taylor, league leader right now in terms of rushing yards, and Rico Dowdle's at 472.
So I'm seeing 25-1 at DraftKings for most rushing yards. Is that enough for you to make a bet?
Man, Hubbard's not coming. Tell me that Hubbard. He's a good running back, but the way Dowdle's running, how do you move on from Rico Dowdle after these last 2 games and just say, all right, cool, no longer the guy?
No, he's got to be. He's got to. I mean, look at this now. And can he handle the workload of a true bell cow running back? That remains to be seen. Although he did have a nice season last year for the Cowboys overall. And by the way, I'm not even seeing most rushing touchdowns listed. He's 5 behind JT right now. He has 2. And Taylor has 7.
Yeah.
So maybe the most rushing yards would be the angle here at 25-1.
I think that might be the way to do it with Hubbard, if that's going to be the case.
Okay.
So mark that down. Put a pin in it, if you will. We'll talk about some of those.
There you go.
Yeah. Put a pin in it. We'll talk about some of those as we move on. All right. Before we move on to baseball, because obviously we have some big futures markets that are up for the championship series, and of course, we can look at the World Series MVP winners, if we will. Anything left in Defensive Player of the Year? Any meat left on this bone that you wanted to hit for Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL?
Yeah, so here's a tweet from Chris Butcher that we got, and you can always tweet us. He is at JVT. I'm at Mitch Moss Radio. And he asked the question, any love for Brian Young, Defensive Player of the Year for the Rams? Sacks in 8 straight games, 2nd in sacks in the league, 3rd in tackles for loss. The Rams have a top 5 defense overall. He is currently listed as high as 100-1. Some books don't even have him posted. And he points out his stats on a blind resume are the same as the favorites. So I went down, and I have all the numbers now in front of me. Benito has 8 for the Broncos. Mm-hmm. He's now the short shot to win the award. Young is a half a sack behind him. Brian Burns has 7 for the Giants. Most pressures, Hutchinson, Lions, 36. Karlaftis, 32. Verse, 31. 6 other players have at least 27. Young has 26, but he has the 4th fewest pass rush snaps out of the bunch. I don't know if voters look at that kind of stuff. I have no idea, but I'm throwing it out there. Tackles for loss, Max Crosby leads with 10. Young and Brian Burns each have 9. Anything there with 100-1. Would voters actually look that? Can he pop? Can he have enough plays to like get by some of the biggest names here in this market?
This is why I love this community. I think that's great. Because if you're going to tell me that this dude is top 10 in many key defensive metrics, of course 100-1 should be worth it. Because if we're trusting that the voters are doing what they're supposed to do and looking at it, and he's got the sexy splash stat of 8 sacks, as you mentioned, he's going to be on the radar. He's got to be. Some voters are just mouth breathers and will just look at sacks and go, okay, these are my guys. This is my ballot. At 100-1 to have the dude who's just 2 off the leader? Come on now.
Yeah, what if he leads the league in sacks?
100%.
And he's top 5 or so in pressures.
On a team that wins their division?
Right. And maybe the 1 seed?
Yep. Ooh, that's all right. So we have our FOMO bets. That's got to be one. That's a good call.
I kind of like it. I kind of like that one. How about his teammate, Nate Landman, who Tom Brady was on the call against the Ravens in that game, gave him the player of the game. 17 total tackles, 8 solo. The 17 tackles were most by a Rams player since 2000. And I'll point out that when the Ravens, the second time I'm going to mention this, but when the Ravens had that ball at the goal line right before halftime, Baltimore was stuffed on 3 consecutive runs in the final minute. He recorded a tackle on 2 of those plays. But again, Nate Landman, I think it's actually pronounced Landman from what he said to Brady. But, I mean, the guy's awesome. He's had other moments this year where he, like, popped watching the Rams games. But think about, like, awesome season so far. What does a guy like that have to do to actually get in the national media conversation as a linebacker?
The last true linebacker that won the award is probably Brian Urlacher in 2005.
Oh, 20 years ago.
Now, there's a couple of guys on here, like Terrell Suggs is technically a linebacker, but he was a pass rushing outside linebacker. Let's see. Oh, no, excuse me. Luke Kuechly, 2013. Luke Kuechly in 2013. That would be your last true, like, interior linebacker that won the award. And then you go back to, as I just mentioned, Brian Urlacher, 2005. And that was like that was when the running game really mattered, because you see this big run, essentially, of linebackers. Ray Lewis won it in 2000, Derek Brooks in 2002, Ray Lewis again in 2003, Urlacher in 2005. And then you kind of get to more of the edge rushing outside linebackers like James Harrison, Terrell Suggs, and whatnot. So it's been done before. I think the question just becomes, again, is amassing tackles for a defense going to outweigh some of the splashier stats that media members like to gravitate toward, like rushing the passer, sacks, things like that?
No, my guess is no. He's not even listed on the board. I wanted to bring his name up because Brady gave him the player of the game, and it was awesome again on Sunday. But a guy like that, I think, is kind of, you're burning money on.
Yep. I would tend to lean a little bit more toward Byron Young there. And actually, I'm going to add that. That is something definitely worth adding. That's a great shot. That is a great shot to call. All right. We don't want to spend too much time here because we're going to get a game tonight. We can maybe do a little bit more on the American League Championship Series, but Major League Baseball, we have a couple of games in the books. How about, man, futures bets are in the whole point of Pod to the Futures. If only we did this back in summer. I've got this Mariners 20-1 ticket. Holy smokes. This could not have started better for this Mariners team. They look great. But real quick, a couple of minutes, because a lot of people will spend more time on the American League Championship Series as it resumes on Wednesday. Do you have anything NLCS after yesterday?
Well, I do, actually, and I brought this up on the air and Follow the Money. So the Westgate here in Las Vegas, they posted much better numbers than other books like Caesars. So I took 3 guys for the Dodgers. I took Kiki Hernandez, who was 2 for 4 last night, at 150-1. I took Tommy Edman at 80-1, and he had a hit last night. He won it last year, by the way.
Yep.
In 2024, and I also took Blake Snell 30-1. Pretty good start for him last night.
Yeah.
Now, if he doesn't start again, though, in the series, like let's say pretend it's a sweep for a second, I doubt he's going to win because Freeman hit the home run last night. But if he can get another start in the series and be great, then I think I might be cooking here with Snell. But I think the whole point of this is look down the board when you want to bet ALCS, NLCS, or World Series MVP. Don't go chalk. I'm going to rattle off some of the winners here in previous years. Like I said, Edmund won it last year. Now, you're going to get some chalk occasionally. Kettle Marte in 2023. Harper did it with the Phillies back in 2022. Eddie Rosario in 2021 for the Braves. Must have been a massive number. Corey Seager, Dodgers, that team was loaded. Howie Kendrick did it in 2019. Bellinger in 2018. And then in 2017, 2016, we had co-winners of the award in the NL, but it was Chris Taylor and Justin Turner. Javi Baez and John Lester split it in 2016. And in the ALCS, Jeremy Pena, that magical year in 2022, he won it, and he won the MVP in the World Series. Randy Arozarena for that magical run by the Rays did it in 2020. Jackie Bradley, 2018. Andrew Miller, 2016. Reliever. Asalidas Escobar in 2015. Like, you can take, if you want to add like one favorite or two, in fact, I would just say like one. If you want to take one short shot, but then take a couple of flyers, over the years, I think that's a pretty good approach to this. And as we get closer to the World Series, I'll remind people that Jorge Soler won it in 2021. Steve Pearce, 2018. Ben Zobrist, 2016. A catcher can win it. Hello, Big Dumper. Perez won it in 2015. And pitchers have won it in prior years. Strasburg for the Nats, 2019. Madison Bumgarner, when he was awesome with the Giants in 2014, won it that year.
I like it. Can I offer up both ALCS and World Series MVP candidate, if you will? Now, obviously, this would mean that this guy is going to swipe out from underneath Jorge Polanco, who has been just great through 2 games so far for the Mariners, assuming that they win.
Right, but what do you think Polanco was before the series started?
Oh, I would have to assume he was pretty long, like 25.
I wouldn't say at least that high.
Yeah. How about Josh Naylor? Naylor is 40-1 to win the World Series MVP, and he is 18-1 to win ALCS. In the big blowout of Toronto yesterday, he goes 3 for 4. He has a homer, scores himself, drives in 2 total. Naylor's been hitting the ball pretty well in the postseason. He's hitting .290. He's got a home run that I just mentioned, only driven in a couple, but at least in terms of on-base percentage and hitting, he's been doing it. He's been in pretty good form, and he's had a couple of games where he's impacted almost everything in terms of defensively, all those sort of things. He had a big defensive play again yesterday. If you remember, there was that line drive to him where he had to dive out for it and then flipped it back from it. Yep. He was laying on his ass to first base to get the out. Naylor's been kind of active all over the place, just that Polanco's been great, but Naylor's a dude to definitely watch, I think, for this award, because he's starting to come around and hitting pretty well. And now all of a sudden you're looking at a team that has been great. But how about this for Naylor? His last 4 games, he has had 9 hits in his last 4 games, dating back to that Tiger series. He's heating up in a really big way.
I like it. And that homer last night can only help when you do the final tally of numbers if they win the series, right? And they're in a great spot right now. And here's the thing, if he remains hot, if the award was voted on again today, Polanco would be unanimous, right? Because he had the game winner in game 1, and then the home run again in game 2. He's been
the Tarek Skubal Slayer, Jorge Polanco. The guy's
exactly
incredible.
Right. But what if Polanco cools down a little bit here, and Naylor finishes, and it's a 4 or 5 game series, and he has good games the rest of the way through? It's going to be like recency bias, right? Oh my God, Naylor was amazing in games 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, whatever the situation might be. And if Polanco is 1 for 7 or 2 for 9, whatever, in the next 2 or 3 games, then certainly he can catch. Guys are off to good starts, though, overall, right? I mean, he's going to have to track down Cal Raleigh and Rodriguez, but that home run is kind of forgotten last night, and that could loom large, though, a little bit later on, as, again, those numbers are going to add up.
Yep. All right, before we move on, because I have one last quick topic for you, did you have anything left in baseball?
For awards?
Just anything. Any awards, any look-ahead World Series MVP, any shots, or we're just leaving it with the, hey, look deeper down the board for some of these guys. I mean, it's fun to look at World Series MVP now, obviously, especially if you're somebody that believes Toronto can come back, or if you're somebody that believes that Milwaukee can still win the series. They're only down 1-0. It would behoove you to start looking at some Brewers and Blue Jays, but do you have anything that you would want?
I'll give you one from our buddy Weston, who's awesome betting futures. Yep. He pointed out to me last night, take a peek at Max Muncy, World Series.
Okay.
Because the Mariners are going to have a lot of righties that they're going to have to throw.
Sure. Makes a ton of sense.
Sure it
does.
Like
it a lot.
Right.
All right. So with that, before we get out of here, I think I wanted to hit you with something. Let me pull up these numbers really quickly, because there was rumblings that because I want to go to NBA really quick, if you got a second, before we get out of here. There was rumblings that the Mavericks were going to experiment with some stuff. Did you see what they did on Monday night, the Dallas Mavericks?
Negatory.
They started Cooper Flagg at point guard.
Okay, I like it.
So he only had 1 assist. He had 11 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 assist. But so their lineup was, look at this lineup. It was Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, Cooper Flagg, Derek Lively, and Klay Thompson. You can't really dribble a ton there. There's not a lot of ball handling. But I do wonder, one of the things that I don't think you're not going to go assist leader Cooper Flagg. But from the standpoint of, a lot of shops will hang season-long numbers for guys, averages for numbers. If you can find some season-long assist averages for Cooper Flagg to potentially play over, because I think they're really going to try to develop him as a point forward type, as well as just, hey, looking into the future, some player props, looking at some assist numbers for him in these regular season games, potentially at the beginning of the year, whatever it is. But I thought it was really interesting that Dallas, there's kind of been talk of who are they going to start? D'Angelo Russell, what's going to happen there, and the injury and whatnot. And sure enough, sounds like it might be Cooper Flagg.
Well, that's a great tidbit. And I know that DraftKings earlier this year in the offseason, they were posting Cooper Flagg specials. I don't see those up as we speak. But if you can find other books offering that, because the guy does come in and he's, minus $2 to win the award. Mm-hmm. Track that down, look, and if you can find, I think, by the way, if I recall correctly, I think it was he's going to average, over under 6 assists throughout the year, which feels like a very high number. But if they're going to play him at point throughout, or plenty of times throughout the year, then I think it's got to be an autoplay to the over.
Yeah, so some of the markets that are up, I wish they would do more with these, obviously. But, you have to average X amount of points per game head-to-heads for the season, like an assist head-to-head, something like that. Like, that would be a ton of fun. Like you mentioned, they have the points and the rebounds, but let's go. Hang up some assists. That's what we need to see here.
Because they were offering, again, under these Cooper Flagg specials after the draft, some crazy, almost like 2-team parlays. It was like, will Flagg average 18 points per game?
Yeah.
And the Mavericks win the division like at 35-1. Okay, so I did find a couple here. Team specials on DraftKings. Flagg to average 18-plus points and 6-plus rebounds per game is plus 270.
God, that's so many.
He's got that's how. Well, you don't want to bet this, but here it is now. I mentioned that one at 35-1. That's now 17-1. Flagg to average 18 points.
Okay.
And the Mavericks to win the Southwest Division.
Okay.
By the way, here's one. Well, they have to win the West. You're better off just betting that. It's Flagg to average 6 rebounds a game and to win the West at 30-1.
Oh, wow.
They have a zillion, so I'm catching up with these right now.
I mean, in theory, I guess you could use that as your future for the Mavericks if you like them. I think they're really good. I think they're going to be a pretty good team by the time we get to the end of the year.
And by the way, I did look up after the draft when DraftKings posted these numbers. Rookies to average at least 18 points per game. I thought it was going to be going back. I thought you'd have 8-10 guys or whatever over the last 20. The list was endless.
Yeah.
It goes like StatMuse does a great job. You can track all of it there. I think there were like 30 guys going back the last couple of decades. Rookies to average more than 18 points per game. I was blown away by the list.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, like we talked about when I was going over the Rookie of the Year, the average Rookie of the Year campaign is like 18.1 points per game. I was like, I did not expect that.
No, not at all. I would expect like 14.5 or something around that.
Yep. Malcolm Brogdon, I think, was like the lowest point per game total we had seen for a Rookie of the Year in like 10 years or 15 years or something like that. It was ridiculous. I think he went up with like 10 something, Malcolm Brogdon. That was the year that was Joel Embiid's faux rookie year. Remember, where he didn't play enough games and they didn't think that he was good enough to win it. By the way, just a real quick hardcore observation about this since we're talking about it. Do we, maybe another put a pin in it, do we bet under 6.1 rebounds per game for him if he really is going to be a point forward? Because Derek Lively and Anthony Davis are going to be playing the front court and grabbing those rebounds. And if he's more perimeter oriented, the rebounds will not be there as often for a guy like Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, again, go over that lineup that they trotted out there last night, the starting 5. Think about how tall they are, and if he's going to play the point, most of those rebounds are going to go to his teammates. Derek
Lively, Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, Cooper Flagg, and Klay Thompson.
The 3 big guys average like, what, 7-1?
Yeah, dude, that's such a big team.
Oh,
they're going to be pretty good, man. Like I don't know, like their offense might be a little shaky because again, they're still trying to figure out this point guard position, but defensively, they should be a pain in the ass every single night.
Oh, 100%. With guys on the bench like Max Christie, that will be a lockdown guy, I think, and some of the other guys that they have on the roster, they're going to be fun to watch for sure.
Yep. All right. Anything else before we head out here?
Can I give you like the coffee tip of the day?
Sure. What's up?
I like drinking a lot of coffee every day, probably at least 2 cups.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like sweetness, though. I am not a sweet guy. I don't have a sweet tooth at all. Desserts, hard pass. Sweet coffee, no thanks. Can't take any of it. So in my coffee every day, a little bit of creamer, but then I add the Maldon salt on top of it.
Oh, okay.
To give you, because coffee shops, some of the most popular brews going back now are like the salted caramel. Mm-hmm. And I told myself I had one that was delicious a couple of months ago, a salted caramel like iced coffee, I believe is what it was, or a cold brew. And I'm like, I want that same, I want to be able to do that at my house, though. I don't want to come out and spend $8 every single day to get this delicious taste, right? So if you add a little bit of salt on top after you have the creamer in there and mix it up, oh my God. If you're like me and you don't like sweetness and you like that more salty flavor with coffee, it's absolutely phenomenal.
I thought you were going to go with the bulletproof coffee.
I like it.
The bulletproof coffee, for those who are listening, is you put generally it's supposed to be unsalted, like grass-fed butter into your hot coffee.
Sure.
And it helps dissipate the caffeine at a slower rate. Also actually gives you a little bit more of a full feeling, too. So it helps with weight loss and whatnot. It actually tastes really good, too.
Yeah, I used to add like coconut. It was almost
coconut oil?
Like coconut oil to it,
yep.
Yeah. But almost like a hardened coconut oil. And then it would like obviously melt in the coffee. But drinking too much coconut also gets a little bit old after a while. But if you like it, it's delicious.
Yep. All right. Please remember, like, rate, review, subscribe. We have lots of stuff that is up on the website, including the NBA guide. Speaking of, I think I'll officially throw that out there. Zach Cohen potentially next week. You want to get him on? Talk a little NBA as the season will start next week. So that's going to be exciting. Yeah, next week already, NBA season. Very much looking forward to that. So we appreciate it. Again, everything up on the website. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Pod to the Futures. Wyatt, thanks back at the studio for helping us out. And we will talk to you next week here on Pod to the Futures.